the same guys that, have for years. I mean, obviously I'm such a big, gun guy, right? So the same guys that for years told me, why do you need an AR-15? There's no background check. It's ridiculous. Don, what AR-15 should I buy? John, oh my God, there's a waiting period. What's going on? I want a gun. There's stuff going on in my neighborhood. I mean, I go, for 10 years, you told me that these things didn't exist because you had no idea, but that was the talking point. I think they're waking up to how ridiculous it's become.
Do you miss the good liberals? Because we talked about this last time, but you're a New Yorker. You grew up mostly around liberals. I know you have a lot of friends that are still liberals. Like, do you miss that New York liberal that was not sort of the bananas lefty?
I do, and it's sort of interesting. I mean, some of them are still that way, and honestly, some of them are just like, I can't believe what's going on. I'm like, the same guys that, have for years. I mean, obviously I'm such a big, gun guy, right? So the same guys that for years told me, why do you need an AR-15? There's no background check. It's ridiculous. Don, what AR-15 should I buy? John, oh my God, there's a waiting period. What's going on? I want a gun. There's stuff going on in my neighborhood. I mean, I go, for 10 years, you told me that these things didn't exist because you had no idea, but that was the talking point. I think they're waking up to how ridiculous it's become. So, it's been a little bit cathartic for me because, those radicals that, you literally, I used to be able to put myself in their shoes, argue their point. It's not like I stick to 100% conservative dogma. You know that in the conversations we've had way before we even got into politics. I'm pretty open about that. And yet, I used to be able to argue those points. I can't argue the mainstream Democrat platform anymore with a straight face and be like, this is somehow good for America. Most of them can't. And that's the problem. They see it. So there's plenty of, those Democrats. I know a bunch that are just like, yeah, we don't love every aspect of what you're doing, but like, we believe in economy. We believe in freedom. We believe in freedom of speech. We believe in, and you're listing these things that, I said it in my convention speech, like, freedom of speech and thought, that used to be a liberal value. Try wearing, tolerance used to be a liberal value. I mean, they still run around. They're the party of tolerance. I'm saying, try wearing a MAGA hat in Portland. Try wearing a MAGA hat in one of these major cities. Now, if you wore a Biden hat, and I haven't seen any of them, but if someone made one and wore
There's got to be one somewhere.
Yeah, wear it in the most, I don't want to call it MAGA country. That's a Jesse Smollett special. But like, in the most conservative, no one's they won't even say anything to you. They won't spit at you. They won't beat you over the head with a brick like you're seeing in these videos. They won't loot your store or cancel your business or get petitions going to ruin your life on Facebook. They won't do that. But try doing it the other way. So, the party of tolerance isn't so tolerant. And I think a lot of reasonable Democrats, get that. I also think a lot of sort of that history, that blue collar working class union Democrat that had a tradition of voting that way, I think they get it too. They're saying, what is, I used to hear it in 16. Well, Don, if my grandfather knew that I was voting for a Republican, he'd be rolling over in his grave. I go, well, what would he say about today's Democrat platform? Not that one. And he goes, huh, you're right, Don. Like, oh my God. I go, how many genders are there? 96 or 2? What would he say? John F. Kennedy, this pillar of the Democrat Party, he'd be alt-right today, Dave. He'd be canceled. Right? He'd be Me Too'd and canceled, and it would be over. I mean, it's just not your grandfather's Democrat Party anymore. And I think that has ostracized, so many former Democrats where they're starting to become, either somewhat conservative, moderates, or really, sort of libertarian in many of their views, which are so many of my views too.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And we've had many discussions about it. Let's jump to a private discussion we had about it, because I think it'll get to something really interesting here, which is my audience has heard it. But one night, you and Kimberly invited David and I to dinner at Mar-a-Lago. We had a really nice dinner. We argued about politics for 2-3 hours. I had a couple of drinks. You do not drink, so I'm not sure who won the arguments. But we did about 3 hours there. And then at the end, your dad was there. And by the way, this was right at the beginning of impeachment. And everybody said the walls are closing in. He's freaking out. The guy's sitting there. He has no tie on. He was with Giuliani and some people, and he's laughing and having fun. Anyway, at the end of dinner, you said, hey, would you like to meet my dad? And I was like, yeah, I'd like to meet the president. Let's do it. And you introduce us. And then he turns to David and he says, well, who are you? And David says, well, I'm his husband. And your dad immediately, like there was no pause, he clapped his hands together. He slapped them on the table. He said, that's great. That's just great. I want to stand up and shake your hands. He shakes our hands. He says, the only thing wrong with you guys is you're too handsome. Melania, can you believe it? These handsome guys are married. And it was just so obvious to me that in this completely unscripted, unplanned moment where you just brought us up to him, that he actually said, I don't know if he wants me saying it, but I've said it before. He said, I want you guys to know something. I don't give a shit, and I don't think anyone's given a shit in 20 years, talking about gay marriage or whatever.
Right.
How do you get over the labels when it comes to something like that? Just the base stuff. Your dad is, or your family is homophobic, or they're racist. Because no matter how many times I tell that story, people say I'm a sellout somehow, or some version of some of that stuff.
No, well, the reality is this. Donald Trump is the first person to run for president of the United States that when he ran, he was for gay marriage. I mean, Obama was against it because he was told he had to be against it, and maybe he wasn't in his actual convictions, but as part of his platform, he was against it because that's what they had to do. Right? That you listen to the talking points and you must succumb to them. So, again, Donald Trump's been way ahead of that curve. I think we're from New York. I mean, it's like a pretty big percentage of the people around us at any given time are probably, we just don't care what you do in your own, who gives a shit? No one's going to care. It's one of those issues. You're right. I mean, we're already there, frankly, but in 20 years, it'll be even different, right? Even more so. I mean, even some of the older school people that, maybe a little bit more, just kind of read the sort of the older religious dogma on it. Like, no one cares. Even the people that say they care, no, they don't care. They feel obligated to do it. Donald Trump just had the guts to be like, hey, I don't care. I'm running for the Republican, nomination, and this is not an issue for me whatsoever. Go have at it. I always joke, the best wedding I ever went to was a gay wedding because it was on a Tuesday. They were like, well, we don't want to screw up your weekend. We're just going to have fun on a Tuesday. I'm like, that's perfect. This is the greatest wedding ever. I don't have to lose my whole weekend. That's awesome. I love you guys. And so, he hasn't cared, but again, you see it every day. Donald Trump has been so proud. I think you guys didn't have a problem with Obama literally running against gay marriage in 2008. But Donald Trump runs as a conservative, literally going against the more traditional dogma. Again, I don't think it's a party platform issue at this point. Like I said, I don't think anyone cares. They probably haven't for a while, but he literally said, I don't care. Well, guess what? You're a Republican, you're trying to get the evangelical vote, and you still say, hey, I don't care about that. Let people live and let live. I mean, the Republican Party is the true party of tolerance. Now, that doesn't mean, and I've been open about this too, that doesn't mean I don't draw the line. Some places, again, I don't care how you even identify. Where I start to care is when, you're 6'2", 285 and jacked, and you decide you want to be a woman and compete against, my daughter in sports. I don't identify how you want, but you start taking her scholarship. I have a problem. I wonder where the people who fought for Title IX are. How come they won't say anything? But it's interesting when I've come out on some of those things. And again, I don't give a crap if you're trans or not. That makes no difference to me. It's when you sort of let's have the best. Let's take a female athlete who's top of her game, who's worked her whole life. I'm a journeyman male athlete. It's not working out so well. Congratulations. I'm going to flip it. Now I'm a state champion. I'm getting your scholarship. I have a problem with that, and I've said it. I've been very vocal about it. I've even put it out on Twitter, and it's interesting because if I put out anything on Twitter, before someone could have even read my tweet, they're up there with the hate mail and the hate commentary. But when I do that one, it's sort of interesting. I get this note like, damn it, man. God damn it, I hate him, but I'm with Don Jr. on this one.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.